Hello, welcome to Point Counterpoint. The opinions expressed by the show's host will many times conflict, thus the title, Point Counterpoint. Point Counterpoint is a weekly issue show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to see through the misinformation and get to the accurate facts. What is right and what's best for the community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone or their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment, right to free speech, and we support everyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, an unedited, honest discussion of the issues. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions or comments made on the show by their guests, or the information that we gather from public sources. The intention of this show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community, present the facts surrounding the issues, discuss the pros and cons, then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. This show is a property of the producers and it may not be rebroadcast without written permission from the producers. As I said, the producers take no responsibility for the opinion of others in the posting of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media. Ideas and suggestions for the show are welcome and encouraged. We can be reached at 46360show@excite.com. Our shows will be aired on Comcast Cable Access and will be broadcast by us on YouTube under the label Point Counterpoint 46360 Show. Again, welcome to Point Counterpoint, the 46360 Show, produced by Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topics and the discussions and the show. Let's get started. Tony, what do we have on our agenda for today?
46360 Show, you're ready to go. So, it's been what, 5 weeks?
5 weeks. We're warmed up, ready to go.
This is July 8th, for everyone checking. We have been diligently working on lots of topics. So we had to pick, because the show is 5 topics, 10 minutes long, right? So we had to pick 5 topics. And we'll have a surprise for you at the end. Got a new little thing we like to do. But last when we left you, we said we were going to start talking about neighborhoods, and we said we were going to talk about Eastport. So our first topic is neighborhood identities, is Eastport. Our second topic is the new state plan for paying for road maintenance, the 45 taxes and fees, and the $2 billion surplus and the 10-cent gas tax involved. The second topic is the state plan to make interstate highways toll roads. We're going to have to make sure we make that clear. It's just a study at this point, but there is a requirement for INDOT and there is a request for services for that, for the way to make the interstate highways toll roads. The FEMA floodplain Loma update. Dwayne's been working on that diligently. He hasn't forgot. I don't think he'll ever forget. That's his area. And the NICD double track trial run. Potential for the NICD double track rail through Michigan City. We've done a lot of research. I'm sure if the viewers have been looking and watching, there's a whole website of which we have read diligently. So where do you want to start? You want to start on Eastport?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Eastport. All right, let's go over to Eastport. Everyone talked about Eastport, and the biggest thing we remember is Eastport School, right? And that was demolished to make way for the new police station. Now Eastport, and here, this is Point Counterpoint. In my mind, Eastport is the South Shore on the north, Parker on the south, Woodland on the east, because we stopped our last neighborhood at Woodland.
First we looked at East Gate.
And then Poplar on the west.
Yeah, that works.
It's a nice little square.
That's pretty close, yep.
So Eastport neighborhood, I'll take the lead here. Did a little research. So I was doing research in my neighborhood. I'm kind of in Decatur, York, south of the Barker neighborhood.
Sanborn.
Sanborn. I'm going to call it Sanborn neighborhood. I put my sign up. Anyone drives by my house, you don't know.
Sanborn neighborhood,
The sign I brought in here a few weeks ago, I put it up on my fence. I'm tired of dragging it in my truck. I'm just going to roll with it. So you look at some of these neighborhoods in Eastport. So you look at subdivisions and how Eastport came about. they obviously grew up, and subdivisions were created. So some of the subdivision names are Woods Park, Camp Anderson, Marshes, which I didn't know extended that far because Marsh School, Cheney Subdivision, which is interesting because Cheney Run,
Yep.
Cheney Subdivision, Campbell's, Cole and Murphy, Crittenden's, DeJong, Algrim's, Coons, Krieger Edition, which is interesting because we're going to talk about Krieger neighborhood, which is just north of the tracks in my mind.
Yeah, I was
so that's
gonna ask
interesting
about-
that Krieger Edition is in there. Lamka's, Clouds, I spelled that wrong, Clouds Edition, Tuthill and Schwager, which surprises me too. That's more of like Marsh neighborhood, and H.M. Hopkins Edition. So I haven't done a lot of research on like H.M. Hopkins. Who was H.M. Hopkins? What did he do? But has a subdivision, pretty good size in there. Lamka's, Clouds Edition, DeJong, Crittenden's, Cole and Murphy. It sounds to me like a business. Maybe you viewers can email us and tell us. Cheney Subdivision, I presume it's after Cheney Run, which would mean that's really old because Cheney Run is obviously an old, been there forever ditch. And so Cheney must have come, maybe some farmer name. Again, if our viewers would email us or call us, we will help. Marsh, pretty obvious. Camp Anderson and Woods Park is a very large majority of it. So I presume, since you're looking at Eastport, it's kind of higher than the area of Cheney Run. Maybe that was all woods and they called that Woods Park. Always looking for information.
But what that tells us too, Tony, is that there's a lot of history in Michigan City because these subdivisions within the Eastport area,
Just in Eastport, 15 of them.
yeah, represent the development and growth of the city. The city grew along the boulevard from west to east. What I started to ask you about was the Canada District, which was associated with the Canadian people that came down here and worked on our railroads because Michigan City was at one time a railroad town. A lot of us forget that just south of the bridge over Trail Creek, at one time there were 6 rails going across that, with a rail car yard, a turntable.
Yeah, turntable.
And all that is
yes.
is the development of Michigan City. So there's a lot of influence there, and it shows the stages of the development. You did a lot of work on it. About the only thing I would like to add to it is a reflection of how old that neighborhood is most people, when they hear Eastport School, all it registers is the school that was demolished at the site of the new police station. Well, there's always been an Eastport School in Michigan City. The original Eastport grade school was just north of the boulevard on the east side of the street. It slips my mind right now, that runs right next to DeVries Firestone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's been an Eastport School in Michigan City probably since the founding of the city.
So the Eastport building wasn't that old.
The building that was demolished?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I think it was 1954 vintage,
Yeah.
something like that. It's
Huh.
not that old.
Didn't know that. So Eastport, can we reminisce a little? We went over, before we got on the show, we went over some of the things that were in Eastport.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. Your family was a small business family. Your dad was a surveyor in LaPorte. My family was small business. They owned Perry's Bakeries in Michigan City, 3 locations. One of them being at the Eastgate Shopping Center. So I spent a lot of time. My mother and my dad both ran the bakery. My mom ran the front with the sales ladies, and my dad ran the back. He was a baker. And so I spent a lot of time with them to keep me out of trouble. They tried awfully hard.
Me too.
And so I spent a lot of time at well, I don't know what it is now. It used to be Sycamore Playground, right there by the 8th Street Bridge, on the way to by NIPSCO's substation. That was Sycamore Playground.
Didn't know that.
What we call Cleveland Ave, where there used to be a ball diamond there, where intercity baseball played games. Basketball court there, and just a general area for kids to hang out. It was big enough that in the fall you had kids were playing football out there, and it was big enough also that if there was a game going on in a diamond, there was enough open area on the outfield grass that there could be just a neighborhood game going on closer to the south property line.
Is this south of The police station?
Yeah, right on the south side of the police station.
All right, and so I didn't drive by. I don't know if you did. I didn't get back there to look. They started on that park behind the police station?
I've seen the walking track there. I haven't been by there recently, but I've seen the walking track there.
Because they are going to do some work and make a better park back
That's
there.
what their commitment
Neighborhood
is.
park. But to reminisce, I mean, we went over some businesses. I remember the Chinese takeout right there.
Yep. Su Ling's, I think.
Su Ling, I remember that. You know, that was quite the establishment. I remember the Kentucky Fried Chicken, where now it's, I can't remember who's in there now. There's another little restaurant.
Kevin's
restaurant. Restaurants in there. M&M.
The old M&M diner. Yeah, there were two M&Ms in Michigan City. One on the boulevard and one at the corner of 10th and Franklin. That white building that was a barber shop for a long time. Now it's closed.
And M&M is now
J&J
Pizza Shop.
Good pizza.
That is very good pizza. What else did we come up with?
Well, there was a fire station right there on the boulevard.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We used to have many more than 4 fire stations. We had one would be in the south parking lot of the county courthouse.
Yes, yes.
We had one there. We had one on the boulevard. We had one on Cool Spring, just west of Franklin Street, which is now the ambulance station. Oh, yeah.
And then the music store, which is a little bit out of what I said. That's a little bit west of Poplar. They had that music store.
That was primarily blues and jazz. Yeah.
Blues and jazz. Oh,
the Chrysler dealer.
The Chrysler dealership was there for a long time.
Petty's grocery store.
Petty's is still there. Why?
Yep.
Can't remiss without saying Petty's has been there, and boy, done a great job in that neighborhood. They're still a little west, so we'll pick up on Petty's.
We're
outside
pushing the boundaries here.
We're pushing the boundaries of what's down there, just to understand what happens in these neighborhoods, and as they change and evolve. And I remember the Boulevard. Boy, that was the corridor of commerce in Michigan City, by far, the corridor of commerce after the downtown.
Absolutely.
That was the next area.
And Eastgate Plaza was a full-service shopping center. I remember when my folks' bakery was there. There was a Brownie's restaurant right on the end. There was a Harvey's Five and Dime. There was a Hook's Drug Store. There was a grocery store there. It was a chain.
It was a bank.
A bank there, Citizens Bank. Well, the old Citizens Bank. Had a bank outlet there. And when I was a councilman, I tried to make connections, but unfortunately so much of the property in Michigan City is owned by out-of-town interest. Some of them out of the United States. It's really hard to get an introduction to these people when they're in Europe or Africa. There's a lot of distance there.
And then you said DeVries Tire.
DeVries Tire's been there for years.
What about the place across the street? It was like a Nissan dealership and a lawnmower place, right?
Oh, it was Dry's, American Motors dealer.
American Motors.
Yeah.
American Motors. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, when we went from 1 car to 2 cars, I bought my wife's first car there.
American Motors.
Spirit.
Now Spirit was a nice car.
Yeah.
That was a good little car. Eastgate Plaza. You know, you said it was out-of-town owners, and I think they're still out-of-town owners, but it's seen quietly a renaissance.
And it's interesting that you say renaissance, because I want our viewing audience to understand what we're trying to do here by identifying the neighborhoods to get some pride back in your neighborhood. Work with your neighbors, get a neighborhood watch set up. I supported neighborhood watches when I was on the council. After the young teenager was shot and killed behind the then Eastport School building, right after I came in on the council, I publicly encouraged, and I met with the Krieger neighborhood group to encourage neighborhood watches. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
it brings the neighborhood together.
We're looking to take neighborhoods and build some cohesiveness between. I mean, there was 15 subdivisions, but there's still a cohesive neighborhood there. Everyone kind of knows who, where, and works where, and what they drive, and what should be happening, and what shouldn't be happening. That's what we're trying to do with the neighborhoods. And if somebody thinks that maybe we should shift over a street or maybe a little bit better boundary, that's fine too. These are not set in stone. This is just kind of what we see.
Yeah, please let us know, because there's a lot of information out there we don't have. I'm sure Bob Pollock was sitting with us at the end of the table. Bob would have something to chime in historically because Bob is an excellent historian on Michigan City.
Oh, it'd be nice to have. Maybe Bob might be a guest star of ours someday soon. So that takes us into Eastport neighborhood, which is gives us our 10 minutes. Anything to add about Eastport? It's a good, solid neighborhood. I think the police station is helping it maybe get a little better. It had some troubles, but not as bad as other neighborhoods. It does have the boulevard. They redid the boulevard. Maybe we'll see a renaissance at the old Eastgate Plaza. Hopefully we'll see something else. I mean, there's lots of things that go in there. Actually, well, no, McDonald's is a little bit out of that neighborhood. But there's things there that are really nice to know that that neighborhood can be proud of and celebrate and maybe grow and expand.
Absolutely.
So that brings.
Absolutely. I thought of two more. The Wagner's Bicycle Shop.
Don't remember.
That's right there. What used to be Willie Millsap's Community Center.
Oh, and there used to be a little.
That was a bicycle
little
shop,
corner
and then,
store, sundry store there
and then
too.
the Wagners picked up Triumph Motorcycle. They were the Triumph motorcycle dealer for Michigan City, and when Honda came on board, you bought your Hondas
At Triumph?
at Wagner's Cycle Shop.
Wow.
Yep.
I had no idea. I only remember the Harley Davidson on Franklin.
Nope, they were on the boulevard first.
All right. There's our 10 minutes for our neighborhood. We'll leave you for waiting until next week about which neighborhood we'll pick from here. You never know. It could be the Sanborn neighborhood since it's my neighborhood. We'll see. Next topic is the new state plan for road maintenance.
Okay, I'll run with that a little bit, Tony. I've been doing some work on that since it first was in the Northwest Indiana Times, which has provided excellent coverage of what's going on between the Times and then naturally the Indianapolis Star. The new state plan, which is already in effect, we need to know it took effect the
July 1.
July 1st. It's a multi-pronged tax and revenue producing program, and the reason for it is the state, the governor looked at it. Indiana has a $2 billion surplus in our account. We are the wealthiest Great Lakes state around. We're the only one that borders on the Great Lakes, central. I'm talking Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. That's in the black. We're very healthy. We need a lot of road work done. The original estimate was about $800 million. But for whatever reason I don't understand, downstate, they want to generate this $800 million through taxes and fees rather than using a portion of the $2 billion that we have. The taxes come in, it's a three-prong attack. There's going to be a 10 cent a gallon increase on gasoline, which you haven't felt it because they didn't hit us with the 10 cents all at once. July 1st it was 5 cents, and the second 5 cents is going to go into effect a year from now, July 1st, 2018.
Well, and gas prices were low, but boy, today they're high.
Yeah.
They're going back up.
Yeah. And each year after that, they're going to increase a penny a gallon. They're also going to charge, and this is going in effect now, a $15 a year increase for registration of your vehicles. Each year when you go get the new tag for the corner of your plate is going to cost you $15 more than it has in the past. I get hit the 28th of August. That's my expiration date on my plates. And back to the gas tax, for the people that have hybrid cars that don't use as much gas as electric cars, they're going to get hit with a higher price to make up for that. Hybrids are going to be $75 a year for their registration update, and electric vehicles are going to be $150. So you're not going to escape it by going from gas to electric or hybrid. There's also going to be a $5 fee, a tire fee, every time you need new tires. $20 to put the 4 tires on your car, it's going to add up.
I have to say I didn't do my homework because I know that was in the proposal, but I haven't checked if that actually made it into the fee, the $5 per tire.
Yeah.
Because no one said a peep about it. And I would think somebody would have started saying that happened. Maybe they pulled it out at the last minute. We're going to have to check that $5.
Well, I'm about due
on
for
every tire.
new tires on the front end of my car.
Oh, you're
so
going to find out
I'll be
real
able to
quick.
let you know. I'll be your in-field investigator.
Extra $20.
Then they also have, it's up in the air about $1 a pack of cigarettes. That was what they came out with first, and then the governor wanted to talk about this, so they held off on the $1 a pack for cigarettes, but that may be coming, that may be in there also. What bothers me about this thing is that they're not taking at least a portion of it out of the surplus.
Yeah,
They don't have to, I'd like them to take it all out of the surplus, but they're not taking any. And Indiana currently has a 7% sales tax on gasoline. It was on the table downstate to make it part of the legislation that 100% of that 7% tax on your gas goes into the roads to eliminate the burden of these other fees. They took that out of the legislation.
the final.
Yeah, out of the final the final version of the legislation. Now that bothers me. If we're that committed to our roads, then let's put 100% of the sales tax in the roads.
Well, I guess we have some questions to ask. Do you want the government
Yeah.
holding money and
Like a
raising
bank.
fees and taxes? Do you want the government acting like a bank? And then the other thing that they'd said, because I've now heard that this $2 billion in surplus that the state is holding, that number's not coming out in any article anymore. No one's saying we're holding $2 billion while we're raising your fees and your taxes. And except Scott Pilaf, I have very respect for him. He came out and said, what are we doing here? This is not the Reagan Republicans he knows. They're going to hold a substantial amount of our money and raise our fees and our taxes. And they're not using all of the raise in fees and taxes for what we thought it was used for. I guess here's what I'm thinking. Haven't we been down this road before? We legalized gambling in the state. It's supposed to go for education. We legalized gambling here in Michigan City. It's supposed to go for education. It never happens. No matter how well intended they go down to Indy, we try to do these things, it doesn't happen. I'd be amazed if it doesn't happen. But the other part they keep saying is that this will keep our AAA bond rating, so it's easier or costs less money for communities and municipalities to borrow funds. I don't want them borrowing funds. Why do I want them borrowing funds? They're already holding a bunch of our money, they're raising our fees and taxes, and they're going to go borrow funds? This is a recipe for disaster. Look across the line. Illinois passed a budget, raised taxes 32%, nothing in their budget did anything to pay the money that the billions and billions of dollars they're in the hole, and they're just pushing it down the road. I mean, they're in junk bond status with maybe that's good for the state, because why do they need to borrow money? If you need money, come back to the taxpayer and say, I need extra amount of dollars, we're going to raise your taxes. Just be straight with us. Don't put $2 billion in the bank, raise fees, keep your bond rating high so we can borrow more money. I don't understand any logic there.
The whole thing is hard to swallow. I mean, every program that's been out there was going to solve the problem the states had. First, it was the toll roads. That's going to take
Oh yeah,
our
first it was
problem.
the toll road in the 60s, right?
Yep.
And then
Then we had the lottery. If we get the lottery like Michigan had the lottery for
Oh,
Indiana.
the scratch-off tickets and the lotto, yeah.
That's going to save it. Now,
And
riverboat.
education. And then the riverboat.
Yeah, the riverboat, and the money always seems to find
And
itself.
then we leased the toll road. There was, what, $3.5 billion. And the first guy went bankrupt and failed. And now, we'll get to that later.
in Illinois,
We'll move that.
Illinois is the same way. They pass. I salute Governor Rounder for trying to do what's right.
It's tough.
You just don't spend money that you don't have. And Illinois, like Tony said, is billions of dollars in debt. And this new legislation passed. It was unbelievable looking at the Northwest Indiana Times, because tax and spend has always been a term that's been applied to Democrats. And the front page was gigantic letters, tax and spend, about Indiana. Well, it was about Indiana,
45 new
about
fees and
Indiana's
taxes.
government. And it's
Republican-led.
It makes you scratch your head about what's going on.
There's no logic, but we spent 10 minutes on it, which is a great segue into what came part of that legislation is a state plan or state mandate for the Indiana Department of Transportation to study the tolling of interstate highways in Indiana.
What a magnificent source of revenue that's going to be. When Tony and I first discussed this, my question was, why don't we initiate that before we levy a lot more taxes and fees on the citizens of Indiana? I mean, that might
That's a
account
true
for
user fee.
Oh,
True user fee.
absolutely. And when you think of all of the traffic that crosses Indiana, so much of these fees on toll roads, you would have 65, you'd have 31, you'd have 70 down south, you'd have 94. So much of this revenue would come from businesses and individuals just passing through Indiana, not residents. I don't understand why that wasn't put on the table as part of the program, rather than just studying.
This was a topic I would like to put on the show because I'm going to do the point counterpoint. I don't want any part of this. This thing might seem like a good idea in the front end, and all you got to do is read the paper every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, how many people are in major accidents or even dead on Highway 20. That doesn't even account for the pure destruction that's happening on Highway 20. That doesn't even account to the loss of revenue because people's houses are devalued. You don't want to live on Highway 20. You don't want to go near Highway 20. I mean, they're calling it Bloody 20. The sheriff is spending an enormous amount of time out there. The state police can't handle it. It's because they took the toll road, leased it for 75 years to, oh, we got to go over this too. Leased it for 75 years to a Spanish consortium, and they went bankrupt. They took it to somebody else, and all these semis, just if you're out, check out 94 and 20, you see them all getting off 94. They're not going to the toll road.
No.
They're not getting on the toll road over Lake Station. They're getting off 94 right here on 20, and they're going east on 20. It is unbelievable. I lived out in Springfield Township as a kid. I drove into Michigan City every day down 20 to the boulevard. Never was it anywhere near what's happening out there today. It just takes you 10 minutes. The noise is unfathomable on 20. We are stretching all our resources on 20. The state's going to put in millions and millions of dollars on 20 to try to help stop people from getting hurt or killed.
And maintain it.
And you take this statewide. If I'm a trucker and I got to pay tolls on 94, 65, 465, any interstate, I'm getting off. I'm getting on 8, I'm getting on 30, I'm getting on 20, I'm getting on 421, I'm getting on 6, I'm getting on 10, and my truck, those are public state roads, will completely destroy that road. It can't handle it. It will lead to an intense amount of accidents. How many people will get killed? It will destroy property values. The interstates are there. Now, this is not set. There's a request, and you can look it up. The Indiana Department of Transportation put a request out per the state statute to look at tolling the interstates. Now, the federal government doesn't allow it. Who knows what that'll change, but this sounds like a good idea. But if you look at what's happening with the toll road and 30 and 20 and every road around our county and the northwest Indiana, we are being destroyed. We are being decimated by those people leaving the toll road. They are off the toll road. They're not paying that. They're going on the free road, and they're just ruining our state roads.
Well, this is another one of those issues like you encounter a lot, Tony, that are double-edged swords.
This is a double-edged sword.
I like the idea of it from a revenue point of view, but you're absolutely right. From a safety and maintenance point of view, this has a potential to be a disaster. A lot of people don't realize that when roads are designed, they're designed and built on different basis, on cost of construction, on load and frequency of load on the road. These secondary highways, they're designed to accept semi-trailers, but not in enormous quantities. It's the constant load that will shorten the maintenance cycle. Instead of a road lasting 10 years, it might have to be resurfaced after 4 if you triple the volume of traffic on it.
And it's not just designed of the base, it's also designed of the width. Interstates
Yeah,
are
oh, yeah.
designed for cars to be on with big wide shoulders and safe travel. Our state roads are original. Some of them are wagon trails. 421, those are 20 old original wagon trail. You're going to take that kind of traffic, you can't stop them. If they get upset and say, we're not paying, because this is a company doing business, and this could be everybody. It could be the post office, Amazon, Budweiser, Pepsi. They're all here, and Walmart, they're here to make money. And if they can cut $20, $30 off their trips going to trucks, they're not going to run on the interstates. They're going to run them down the state highways.
What we're going to need to do is, like we talked about, I mentioned in a previous show, we're going to have to look at the East Coast and what they've done. They're an older part of the country than we are, and learn. We need to do the Jersey barrier system, which is a reinforced concrete wall separating the lanes of traffic, separating the east and westbound lanes or the north and southbound lanes, depending on which way the vehicles are running. And that's the only foolproof system. A semi can lose control, run into a barrier, a Jersey barrier, and it will not cross the center line. It'll be contained in the lanes of that direction.
Here's where I agree with you. I didn't agree with you to start, and I've looked at it. I've driven down 20. Probably a good idea. There's not that many places where you have to cross 20. It will restrict from private owners, but if it can save, cars crossing the center line ended up in the front end of a fully loaded steel coil or truck, and somebody dying or 3 people dying, it's worth every penny of the inconvenience, because that, in my mind, in my opinion, that's what the toll road did to us. It made 20 the new byway. It's cheap, it's free, it's almost the same path and same travel time, and they are on it like no tomorrow. But you look at the road base, when you talk about road base, 20, any road, 20, 35, even 30, and 30 is kind of a newer road, 6, 10, 8, they are not at all set to handle those kinds of loads.
That volume of traffic.
You run a semi-truck fully loaded compared to a passenger vehicle, you're talking 10, maybe 30 times the weight, just destroying that base, just constantly beating up that road. Can't handle it, won't handle it, let alone the noise. And you can't stop those trucks. It takes a long time to stop. And my hope here is if our representatives watch this, they say, wait a minute, we're putting out a request for proposals or a request for services. We need to look at what happens when they leave these interstates because they're tolled. Where do they go? Where does that traffic go? What percentage of that traffic? And they're smart traffic engineers who will figure this out. They'll say 30 or 60% will leave the interstate and they'll drive this road.
They'll sacrifice the time.
Yep.
And save the fees.
And this will potentially increase the traffic by this amount. It will potentially increase the injuries by this amount. It'll potentially increase the deaths by this amount. They'll quantify exactly, and that's what we need to look at. I read the request, and I didn't see that in there. I just saw a little funding. Now, to go back a little bit, this extra fees and taxes are on top of the federal funds we get. Every state gets federal funds for the interstate. The interstates are federal highways. So we get funds from the interstate, federal highway transportation interstate funding to keep up 65 and 94 and 465, the federal interstates. So this is on top of that money, which they said we don't have enough money. Anything to add on that? State plan?
Well, you can see, Michigan City people, you can see it yourself. Park in the mall that's currently closed.
Oh yeah.
Park in that JCPenney's parking lot and walk across the street to the Fannie Mae store, and you'll walk right through areas of pavement, because that's blacktop, that are dished out by the heavy steel hauling tractor trailers.
I was going to say, just go to the new Sonic, which is open, and sit out front of there and eat some dinner. You'll see them tractor trailers coming in through there, Jake braking at that light. It is horrendous, and that is what Highway 20 has become. Sad, but we need to make sure, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Be very, very careful with this one. We know
Yeah.
We've proven what happened with the toll road. There's no, you can go and look at it. You don't have to guess. Just stand out there and look at it. Read the paper every day. I'm sure everyone reads the reports. I'm sure the sheriff and the state police are very well aware of what happens on 20. It's sad, and people are dying.
Yeah, it's. I'm not what you're saying. When you referenced the new Sonic, I was trying to think of the movie. I was going to say I've tried the new Sonic, and I felt like when I was sitting in my car, I should be listening to the soundtrack from Smokey and the Bear.
Oh yeah. It's pretty loud.
Yeah.
But this is the point I said. I agree with you, Dwayne. We need Jersey barriers to stop that center line crossing on 20 at a minimum. Stop people from getting killed. You can survive an accident. You could probably survive a rear ending. You can't survive a head-on cross the center line into a semi.
No.
Never gonna happen.
No,
These cars cannot handle that.
You bet.
And the coroner and the sheriff and the state police don't need to keep coming up these accidents. The time we spend on this road, we're never going to stop them all. It's an enormous amount of traffic, more than I've ever seen in my life.
There'll be an awful lot of people die before they take notice downstate of
Man, what happens?
the effect of this. What happens if all of the interstates become toll roads?
This is one of those times
Yeah, it's a
the politicians need to buck up and say, hey, we caused this problem. We need to fix this problem.
No,
We didn't know it was going to happen. It was a double-edged sword. Buck up and take it and say, this is what we're going to do. So let's go on to
let's move forward.
the FEMA floodplain with the Loma update. Cheney Run, what do you
Okay.
got?
I'm very disappointed to give you the status of this issue today. I have right here a copy of the disposition from Homeland Security on the letter of map revision, what we refer to as LOMAR, L-O-M-R, that was submitted by Michigan City through Haas Engineering. It was finalized March 21st, and as I said on our program, there was a requirement that the city have a period during which people could voice their objections,
Well, they're
offer suggestions, or state their approval, called a period of remonstration. Well, that requirement was met by the city. I kept calling downstate because I didn't hear anything on the radio. I didn't see anything on ALCO, as these city meetings, council meetings, Board of Public Works, saying that there would be a public meeting held on this, but it was posted. The letter of map revision stated that the findings would be posted in the News Dispatch, March 30th edition and April 6th, which it was. The News Dispatch's circulation has dropped substantially from what it was years ago, 20-some thousand, whatever, to 6,000. A lot of people don't read that newspaper anymore, so the word didn't get out. And my feeling is the city did not act responsibly. They should have stated publicly on both radio stations and at their meetings, instructed it be announced that there would be a city hall meeting or one or more where this remonstration could occur. And now that period of remonstration ended 90 days from April 6th. So it's over. So this is now law. And the only way that the ideas that Tony and I came up with, we just looked at it, common sense, that if you increase the ability of the water to flow under the areas where it's currently restricted, roads, rail crossings, that you could drastically reduce the size of that floodplain and get a lot of these people out of it that are on fixed incomes, that could be done. Well, now that's over. It can't be done. The only way it could be done would be for the city to orchestrate another letter of map revision.
Yeah, you have to redo another study.
Yep, we have to do another study, submit it. That's the only way that can be fixed.
Well, maybe the city was watching our show and they expected us to do the public outreach since we put the maps out. Maybe they think we did it for them. I don't know, but
Well, I
we can
apologize
still move forward.
to the people that are experiencing this. We did our best to try to motivate the city to do that.
What can we do to move forward? Well, what do we want to do to move? What does this show want to do? Do we want to keep pushing that we'd like to open it up, make the pipes bigger?
Well, that's all we can do at this stage.
We don't want to let it go.
No, I'm not going to let it go. These people, many of them, the majority of them, are in the 5th Ward. They're my neighbors. I'm not going to stop.
So
I'm going to continue to try to gain public support so that we can get this problem addressed.
So the path
and get it
forward
fixed.
is somehow the city needs to do a study and commit funds to seeing if we could mitigate or increase the size of these structures underneath the railroad and Greenwood and open up maybe by the East Gate and the administration building at the school. Just a study of some sort to see if that would potentially reduce this even more. Because we'd still have to pay for a whole nother letter of map revision
Yeah.
study.
Yeah.
It may not be as much because
Well,
we already have one.
Yeah, we know what the cost of this is. The suggested remedies that you and I had, they're valid. If I were in a position to proceed with this program, every program has a threshold of costs that you can operate
that's
at. I would take it what we did, and I would quantify that cost-wise.
You see if the return on investment is worth it.
Yeah. If it turns out to be a $20 billion cost, we can't afford that. If it's,
Couple hundred
Well-
thousand?
if it's $4 million, which could have been saved on the new police station, that's right there, $4 million. And if this could have been done for $4 million, then yeah, it's worth resubmitting a letter of map revision.
So you know, there would be no more or very little flood insurance costs, let alone very little flooding possible.
Yes.
The point of that is to study the potential of a flood, not what we see typically. We start paying flood insurance, and I don't like paying flood insurance, but really the point is to make sure you're not going to get flooded, and that's the point of what we're talking about. To increase these pipes, it would reduce the flood insurance, but maybe it reduced the possibility of flooding at all, which is the point.
Yep.
We don't want
As
people.
long as these people that are affected by this are residents of Michigan City, they pay the property taxes that they have to pay by being a resident. My position is the city owes them doing everything it can afford to do to protect them as citizens, as taxpayers.
So right now it owes them at least a little more detailed look. Now that we know what's out there and how it functions, we feel it deserves another look on how much would it cost to reduce that even more, what the return on investment is, how much would it take, and what return we'd get by less flooding and less flood insurance.
Oh, yes. And our approach is a viable approach. After you and I looked at it, we looked at the areas that we could reduce the constriction, increase the flow, which would reduce the floodplain size. I have a contact with IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and FEMA. And I called them and I explained our thoughts. I said, is this feasible, or are we barking up a dead tree? They said, no, what you've said makes sense. It will work.
So we'll just hope that somebody's watching and they take this ball and run with it. We're giving this one for free. Maybe it could be a real help to the Gardena Park neighborhood and some of those people over there by Greenwood.
Yep.
And maybe we could help the stormwater. I mean, I know there was a request for proposals on opening up the pipe on the administration property, which not only reduces the flooding, it cleans the water. And if you have reduced flooding and cleaner water going to Trail Creek, thus going into Lake Michigan, you might even have a beautiful little park out there to walk around this little area too.
Exactly.
It's just everyone wins on this one. All right, last topic.
Okay.
Nick D, double track.
This was Tony's idea. Go ahead.
So lots of parades this weekend. People I talk to, there's a lot of hesitancy of what's going on with the Nick D double track. You can go to the website, the South Shore website, and there's a plan, and you can see
The latest drawings.
everything that they're planning. They're showing which homes are going to be taken, which properties are are partially going to be taken, which roads are going to be closed, which streets are going to be one way. It's a very detailed plan. They've done a very good job at it. Now, go to that website, and I called Dwayne when I looked at it and said, do you realize that they're closing Carroll? The first time I heard, and maybe I wasn't paying good enough attention, they're closing Carroll. I thought, it's on the last map on the last sheet. I asked Dwayne, did he see the same thing I see? I've never heard about closing Carroll. And why would you close Carroll? My understanding and the understanding of the plan is still to have a station, well,
A loading
platform, not a station, a loading platform at the 11th Street, crossing Pine and closing Spring too, right?
Right.
A big long loading
First
platform.
through street will be Lafayette. Which is just one lane each direction, not large enough to carry the traffic that Pine Street takes.
I could be wrong, but I was under the impression they were doing this so they have one station in Michigan City, which I guess I haven't seen this yet, but I presume that one station at 11th would close Carroll. Why, if we close Carroll, why are we closing Carroll Avenue? If we're closing the station, why in the world would you close Carroll Avenue?
I don't know.
It's very clear. And
well, if you close the station, Carroll
open up.
Carroll Avenue is the main thoroughfare to Springland Ave. Carroll and
Risky.
Risky.
You have to go down
Carroll,
Risky now.
And then Vale. They're the three main thoroughfares to get north of the boulevard. So if you have to access it through one of those.
Now you have only Risky and Vale. I didn't see what happened with Vale, but Vale's
no, Vale's open and Risky's open, but there's
another street by DeVry.
Oh, Woodland. Well, Woodland. No, Woodland is a dead end. Woodland stops.
They're closing
at the
that
tracks.
little street that you go over and jog at Liberty Trail.
But the last time I caught the South Shore at Carroll Ave. They built a new loading platform there. It's a grade, but it's a new loading platform. I don't understand why the investment they made on that should be abandoned. And it's a permanent closure. It's not temporary. It's not a construction closure. Carroll Ave will be permanently closed at the
That's the first time I ever saw it. I saw that site. It's the first time. It's on the last page. That's the very end of their plan, closing Carroll. And so I thought, where do we get crossed in? Well, I guess the Risky Bridge. That's it. You're going to run all that traffic. So they're not full plans, but they're and we've seen surveyors out there. They're actually surveying, and I know there have been offers made. I don't think everyone is on board yet. I don't know how St. Joe County if they approved their money, but I don't know if it matters. Some communities, who was it in the paper? Northwest Indiana Times this last week. Gary, I think. No, Hammond. Hammond has to make their decision. They have to officially.
Gary pulled out already, right?
Well, I think
Gary pulled out. They said they need their money for redevelopment. That this would take money away from that.
I think they're saying they have a resolution, but I think the state's saying we're taking your money anyways. Be very careful here. The state is taking your money. Well, if you say no, it doesn't matter. They're taking the money. So
I've said this before. My feeling is that this is going to end up being a black eye for Northwest Indiana. There's 6, 7 communities that are on the fence. If they take their tax revenues away from them downstate, they will not hesitate to sue. This will end up in the Indiana State Supreme Court and then probably the Supreme Court. This has a potential of being a huge embarrassment to Indiana.
I think they'll sue and the state will win and they'll take their money. It's sad, but they'll get their money. But the point was, back to the point. You talk to a lot of people on the parade weekend, and a lot of people have good ideas. And the best idea I heard, somebody says, well, if we're going to do this double track, and it's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now, why don't we see how it works? Why don't the city shut down the 16 streets? Put these concrete barricades, close it down, make 11th one way, and see what happens. Let's see if we could live with this before we do it and we know it's done and we have no choice.
And it can't be reversed. Exactly.
Close 16 streets, close Carroll.
Let's see what it
make
does.
Make 11th one way, Shut it down. Let's see what it does for police, for fire, for garbage, for plowing. See what happens.
School buses.
School buses.
See how it affects public services.
Let's see what happens. It's real easy. It won't cost us much money. The Board of Works could approve it. We're going to do a trial run. Let's do a trial run. This is better than any engineer could ever figure out. Let's see what happens.
But it won't happen, Tony.
Because it'll be a failure. It'll be a complete, miserable failure.
I believe it will also, but because of the attitude that I've seen in government, they'll accept it. The people, they'll accept it.
We'll eat.
They won't be happy, but it'll after time, they'll accept it. That's reflection of an attitude that I don't like. They don't care about the people.
If you got nothing to fear and you think this is a good idea, which I understand everyone's on board and we're all getting together and kumbaya on both parties, let's see what happens. That was a fantastic idea. It wouldn't take much. We got these concrete barricades, put them up, close the street, make 11th one way. Right now, what would happen on this 4th of July with everyone coming in for the parade, for the fireworks?
Oh, that would have been a good test.
Oh, put it in front of them. Let's see. Oh, you would
We do trial runs on everything else. Every once in a while, you'll see in the newspaper, here on the news, that they had a mock emergency disaster.
Yes, we do. Oh,
Why
that's
not?
even better. Maybe we need a trial run to see what happens in an emergency and a mock disaster. How in the world are we going to be prepared for a disaster in Michigan City if these things are shut down and traffic only goes one way? And we have tens of thousands of people down at the beach. Oh, it'd be
And police or fire has to get there quickly.
It'd be a calamity. And maybe that's what, maybe we need to ask emergency management, do they have a plan on when this goes into effect, on how they would react for any emergency? How would they react for something that happens at the beach? How would they get those people out of there?
Well,
how would they react?
I'm sorry, pal, but that won't go very far.
No.
Because emergency management was done away with at the 2012 election.
Well, the
Before
county has
2000
emergency management.
Okay, well, the county will have to do it then because Michigan City doesn't have it anymore.
Maybe the county needs to do it. We have the bridge at Franklin. Maybe we need to understand how that impacts the bridge. I don't know. I thought that was a fantastic idea.
No, it's a
if
good thought.
everything was good and this whole plan was great and Michigan City is going to boom, let's see what'll happen. It won't cost us very much at all. Put it in place for 6 months and see what happens, because about that time we'll see some snow. We'll see nearly every emergency you can see. You'll see school buses. Let's see what happens. So that
Okay.
was the Nickney double track. Carroll Avenue is closed.
Ready for your surprise?
Well, how much time
This
do we
is
have?
Tony's idea. We have our 10 minutes left, or thereabouts.
All right, so
This is what we're going to talk about in the future.
we want to do a
These
lightning
topics.
round.
We don't have any sound effects to go with it, though, unfortunately. But if you hear something that you want to hear more about, one of our subjects, we're going to do it. We'll keep you informed.
We want to tease you for our next shows. These are things we're thinking about. The art space. Do some research on the art space.
Success or failure?
Success or failure. School funding. We're always on that. Gambling dollars. Is there a return on investment in property values? LaPorte is building a new junior high school with approximately 2,000 students. Where do you think they're coming from and why? The surrounding property values. Again, if you increase the schools, will surrounding property values increase 25, 50, 75%? Maybe we should figure that out. Freight on South Shore, long trains, high speed, safety issues. Michigan Boulevard crossing. If you remember, South Shore Freight crosses the boulevard over by Solaire. I remember as a kid, 10, 20, 30-minute delays. We need to talk about that. Autonomous cars and autonomous trucks. Who knows what's going to happen? Interstate 70 might have an autonomous lane all the way from Kansas City to Ohio, just for semis. Neighborhood identities, we're going to map those out and show you about what we're talking about. We already did 2. We're going to keep that up. The downtown water park, 7th Street, Franklin. Where is it? When's it going to be done? How much does it cost? I drove by today. It's not done. What's the future of the present splash pad down in Washington Park?
Exactly. We spent over $1 million on that.
20-foot wide boardwalk we talked about we'd like to have on the beach. Vendors on the boardwalk. We see they got a rubber mat going from the senior center parking lot. Good idea. I think they're watching us. The future of the ice cream shop. Everyone always asks me, it's a nice building. What's going on with it? I like it, but we need to get somebody in there. New City Hall. Always questions surrounding it. We're going to spend $20, $30, $40 million in new City Hall and where it's going. hotel in the place of News Dispatch, police station, and City Hall. We're going real quick here. Who knows? Destination Michigan City, we forward that. We'd like to keep doing that. The status of the Midtown study plan. What's the next step? How's Midtown going to react? What can Midtown be? We watched the 2017 State of the City address and the accomplishments the mayor talked about. The real question for us is, what have you done for us lately? Those are accomplishments for 5 years old. We need to be 5 years in the future. What is the Michigan City doing with the traffic study on Lakeshore Drive? My understanding, there's already a traffic study done for the bridge. Why are we going to Lakeshore Drive? The Shoe Carnival closed. We understand there's going to be a Five Below there. Maybe, maybe not. Eastgate Plaza renewal. Maybe there's going to be a Rio is going to move over there. It'd be real nice. Dilapidated houses. We're trying to keep up with those. What's happening? The new Gardena Park. And we've got 2 other pages to work in here. We'll leave those for other shows, but that's just a teaser of where
More
we
to
can go in the next few shows.
There'll be a topic for everyone's interest. Trust me.
So we just want to throw those out. We see we got 2 more pages. We apologize for running for the last 5 weeks, but boy, we've been working our homework and working hard. So we want to wrap this up. We got 2 minutes left here. We talked about neighborhood identities in Eastport. The new state plan for fees and taxes with 45 taxes and fees and a surplus sitting in the bank account. We will have to research the $5 per tax, if that was in there or not per new wheel. The state plan will watch very diligently the request for services for the potential tolling of the interstates in Indiana, maybe federal. The FEMA plan we need to come up with, the Loma and what we think with Cheney Run, and we'll even throw some numbers at it. They might not be perfect, but we'll throw some numbers at it. The NICD double track. We will watch that very closely, and hopefully we'll see some more numbers come out and see who jumps on and who jumps off, where we're going to be, how much freight's going to go with that track, especially with the Boulevard by Solaire, how much is going to slow down that traffic. Will there be a bridge? And this is just our thoughts. We don't know anything about it, but would there potentially be a bridge above the freight track at Solaire on the Boulevard with all this delay? He's showing us we got a 1 minute left. I want to say, I hope everyone had a happy and safe 4th of July. The fair starts Sunday tomorrow. The show shows on Monday, so the fair will be running. I understand it could be some stormy rain again like every 4, but the fair is great for the 4-H and the kids and what they do. There's nothing better that happens at the fair. Please support the 4-Hers in the fair. I'm so proud of the county council supporting them. It's been great. Got like 10 seconds left. Dwayne, what do you want to say?
You said it all. Said it all.
So we thank everyone.
I think it's we've got some good subjects. The bottom dollar line is not in on the NICD double track. I'm certain of that. Find out how your representative and senator voted on the new tax. You need to know that because there's another election next year. A lot of county people and some state people.
Thank you very much. That ends our time, and we'll see you next week.